Hello, y'all. I'm coming to y'all with I guess it's a response or a little bit of like an inquiry into a comment that was made on a post that I had been monitoring. And someone had said, I forget the name of the person who had made this comment, but they had said that why is it that people will stay in fucked up dynamics, or like they know that they don't get along with a certain parent or caregiver, and like why stay in that dynamic? And I want to give my 2 cents on the reason as to why I believe people do this. Personally, some people that are in the psychology world would say that it has something to do with Stockholm syndrome, and if you're looking at it from a spiritual perspective, they would say it can be soul ties, which it definitely can be, all both of those. But I think a lot of it has to do with inner child work or lack thereof. And I think a lot of it goes back to the fact that there are people who they know that they have a difficult mom, or they know that they have a difficult dad or a difficult caregiver, whoever the caregiver could be, because it could be an adoptive parent, it could be a grandparent. But instead of letting go of that connection and creating your own family, or finding what I call chosen family, they choose to stay in a fucked up dynamic with that situation. And I think a lot of it goes back to the inner child. You think that if you stay around that caregiver who is difficult, that that is going to somehow change them. And what you're not understanding is, and it's something that it takes time for people to come to terms with, is that people change when they want to change. They're not going to change just because you want them to. That parent or that caregiver has been dysfunctional, they have been toxic, they've been fucked up, whatever it is that they are, they've been that way. Let's just be honest. And staying around them is not going to make them want to change, because that's who they are. They don't see a problem with their behavior because their behavior is not negatively affecting them. It's affecting those around them, but their negative behavior, they're not getting a consequence for that. And so instead of cutting the cord and moving on, the inner child in you, the part of you that doesn't want to grow up, and it's important that there's a part of our inner child that doesn't grow up, and I'm going to explain the reason as for that in a minute. But when you stay in those dynamics, you are refusing to basically let go of that connection and to grow up, because part of being an adult, part of adulting is understanding that you should not stay in places where you're not honored. You should not stay in places where you're not loved or appreciated, respected, or valued. You shouldn't. Even if that means having to be alone for a little bit, so what? You will eventually call in your soul tribe. You will eventually find people who they're not going nowhere. Not because it's a toxic connection, but because it's a connection of mutual love and respect and growth, and they can stay with you throughout life and they can grow with you. And you might even have known them, if you believe in past lives, past lives, if you don't disregard. But the reason why it's important that there's an aspect of our inner child that never grows up is because our inner child is our connection with source. It's our connection with I don't want to say pre-creation life or pre-creation being, but it's our connection with pre-life existence. When you are a kid, you're connected very much with spirit. And so a lot of stuff you do as a kid is innocent. And so it is important that our inner child, that there's aspects of it that don't grow up, so we can always connect back to source. You should have the adult version of you in your mind as well, but your inner child, instead of trying to make your inner child grow up, you're supposed to create a safe space for your inner child to be a child, to be young, to be innocent, to be able to be somewhat naive even. You're supposed to have a safe space for that. But when it's not healed, when it's not integrated, when it's toxic, that is where you stay around caregivers and you don't cut the cord, because you think that if I stay around this person that they're going to change. You have to understand, what you may want in a mother or father, they don't have the capacity to give you. And you said, and then some people go into victim mode, they get bitter, talking about, why did I have these parents, why do I have to be the one to do it, and stuff like that. And the answer to that question is, I and no one can tell you. You have to figure out what you're in this life to do. I don't know why you had that set of parents. I don't know why you had that family. I don't know. It could be a variety of reasons. Maybe you're here to help the bloodline. Maybe you wanted to do that. Or maybe it's about reclaiming your personal sovereignty. And what a lot of people don't understand is, when it comes to people in our lives, when you integrate or accomplish what you need to accomplish with that person, the connection is over. And that can include parental figures. And the reason why the connection you don't understand is because whatever they're supposed to give you, they gave it to you. You're still, fucking with them because you're not understanding that whatever they're supposed to give to you, they already gave to you. And instead of moving on and finding your soul tribe, you're still going after people that whatever you're supposed to learn from them, you probably already learned it already. Whatever you're supposed to accomplish, you accomplish with it. Just because they're a quote unquote blood relative does not mean they're meant to be in your life for a lifetime. That is societal programming. That is not spiritual fact. It's not. You could have been meant to be around your soul family, but they can't come into your life because there are certain people that you will not let go of from the beginning of your life. You won't let go of those people. So how is it that a soul tribe is supposed to come in if there's no space for them? Because even if they were to come in, you would not prioritize those connections. You would prioritize familial connections with people that you don't align with anymore. You have to understand that. Sometimes, the people that come into our lives that are there at the beginning, we are meant to be around them for a certain amount of time. And then after that, that's it. It's a wrap. It's done. It's over. And that's it. That's why after a certain point, you're done with your parents. You're done with a sibling. You're done with a grandparent. You're done with whoever, because whatever you were supposed to accomplish with them, you accomplished it already. And instead of recognizing that, you're sitting over here trying to still be around these people, and you're not understanding that what you were supposed to accomplish, you've accomplished already, and it's over. And you have to let go of that connection. So I think a lot of it just goes back to that. It was just a thought that came into my head because it was a post that I watched about psychology, and it was someone who made that post about why is it that people will stay in these connections, and they were thinking that it has something to do with like Stockholm syndrome. And yeah, Stockholm syndrome can be a factor, but I think a lot of it goes to inner child. I think a lot of it goes to something that we don't often hear about, which is inner child work. If you have an unhealed inner child, that is why you keep going back to that caregiver, because your inner child is trying to rectify something. Instead of you centering yourself and becoming your own parent, you keep trying to latch on to outside parental figures for that. And you're not going to get what you need because they cannot give that to you. It's not meant for them to give it to you. If it was, they would have given it to you. Whatever a parental figure can't provide, you're supposed to provide for yourself. No one has a perfect parent. Nobody does. And you're still looking to them for guidance because you don't want to guide yourself. And I think that that's something that we all have to come to terms with. And the faster you come to terms with it, I think the better your life will not even going to say will, the better your life will be. So it's just food for thought.